Yeah, my name is John Richardson, and I suppose it's a term I'm always slightly uncomfortable with, but it probably does, after 20 years of doing what I do, it probably does work out as a reasonable explanation of what I do. I'm probably a serial entrepreneur. For the last 19 years, I have opened dozens and dozens and dozens of different types of business. I'm not here to go over all of those now, but it gives you some sort of a context of what I've done. Up until 5 years ago, those were all traditional, normal kind of, as they say in the States, bricks and mortar businesses. So my first business was a sandwich bar chain, and we had the biggest sandwich business in Ireland. One at the time I was 28. By the time I was 29, I had absolutely nothing at all because we'd lost the whole lot for a partner that stole a lot of money and cash flow issues. So I've kind of been up there and back down again. I've had fish and chip shop chain. I've had a garden centre chain. I had a domain name registration business in the year 2000, which we just started at the end of the bubble, the end being the operative thing. And we kind of had made some money in something else, and we threw £55,000 into this thing. I sat in this office with 5 kind of programming guys around me just eating up money, and we lost everything. So some of the ideas have been better than others. Most recently, I had a garden centre group, as director and shareholder in that, and I sold out of that about 5 years ago. So now I have gone from, at my last job, having 120 odd staff to having one member of staff called Tom, who lives in the Philippines. And he does my web work. So it's quite a radical shift in terms of what I do. And I suppose gives you some sort of an idea a little bit that, I come from much more conventional working environment. In those 5 years, I've done a variety of different things which sort of, I suppose, loosely do constitute running a business now. About 5 years ago, I did a golf project, which was to try and see whether I could break par within a year. I'll come on to that a little bit later, but really what I want to talk about today is how I then, not how I did that golf challenge, but how I then got the book off the back of that challenge to #1 on Amazon in the sports category, the biography category. I was the golf book #1 for about 9 months in a row, best-selling golf book in the UK last year. But the underlying premise behind all of that was actually a slightly different outcome, and it's a financial outcome. It was the creation of a business. So I used a lot of social media during that process. Like Mike, one of my original incarnations was as a marketing copywriter. So I'm always slightly skeptical of marketing tools that seem to promise the earth for no money. If you come from a direct marketing background, in the olden days, you realize that actually to put a sales letter out there to lots and lots of different people, it's going to cost you a lot of money and stamps and envelopes and the physical printing of it, the buying of the lists and all of those things. And you're working in fractions of a percent to try and make these things to break even. And I think one of the issues behind internet marketing and social media marketing in general can be that it can appear to be very efficient. Because what you can do is you can send out 4 million emails or 2 million emails or 100,000 emails at no cost. Through social media as well, you can also manage to get hold of a lot of people at no cost. There is a cost in time, but there's no physical cost in terms of pound notes. And it can appear to be something that people spend a lot of time on, and they've interacted with a lot of other people, and they've thought, this is very efficient, I haven't spent a penny here, but they haven't fully grasped that the key to marketing is to be effective. So in a slightly glib and patronizing way, if these wee guys here are actually going the right way, in the right direction, they're vastly more effective than the theoretically efficient guys, the rowers, going the other way. So I always try to look at marketing as what is actually effective. And I get caught up hugely in doing lots of things because the whole marketing process can appear to be efficient. You can spend a lot of time and sometimes money doing things that are not efficient. But you can get to the end of the day and think that you've done all of this great work, but it hasn't been effective at all. Now, Twitter, Facebook, MySpace, all of these things are a really classic example, in my opinion, of ways that people can fool themselves that they've been effective. They can look at their Twitter account, they can look at their Facebook friends, they can look at the amount of whatever it is on MySpace and think they're being effective. But they haven't sold anything. They haven't actually done anything with it. And to an extent, MySpace is a good example of that because I actually have a MySpace account and I've got lots of people following me. I haven't visited it for months. I don't even know whether you call them fans, friends, or connections or whatever. MySpace was the huge thing 4 or 5 years ago. You could have invested a fortune into MySpace marketing, as a friend of mine did in Los Angeles, in the music industry. And it still works a bit within the music industry, but actually most of that effort would be gone because everything is shifted forward onto Facebook, it's shifted onto Twitter, and there will be no doubt, if you listen to what Jamie's talking about there and look at all of those other categories that he's talking about, there's going to be another thing. Twitter and Facebook will probably stay, but there will be something else that comes along that is shinier, that is more appealing to different age groups, that suddenly you could have done all of this work and you could then lose those people. So within marketing, I always look for two specific things. I look for focus and outcome. And what I mean by focus is that, to a very large extent, you know, if you take a piece of bread and you push a knife into it, it'll go in very, very easily, versus the scattergun approach of putting your hand onto something and trying to push down, you won't get through. So any specific marketing technique that you're looking at, you need to be looking at how focused it is in terms of that ultimate goal. So disregard how much it might cost you, disregard any of those other factors. See how focused it is in terms of whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. Now that's why I've always liked direct marketing in a general basis, because you can actually think there's a list, whether it's email-based or not, of people or customers or businesses, and I can get through to them there. I can press the right buttons to appeal to the managing director of that business versus, you know, the sales guy or a marketing guy or the personnel folk. You can be very focused within that. And I think those same rules very strongly apply within social media too. There are other rules, and I'll come on to that later, but the way that I have approached social media has been from very much a direct marketer's perspective. I'm looking at a very, very clear outcome. And the outcome, without being relentlessly materialistic for me, is money. My Google search got me a better picture of dollars than pounds, although I sell a lot of what I do actually in dollars. But the outcome isn't always money, but most of the time, if you're running a business, you need to be trying to work out the process that takes you through to the money. So that's a long way off having 100,000 Twitter followers or 5,000 friends on Facebook. There's quite a long, you know, process between the two. Now you can map it out, and you need to map it out. You need to work out what are you doing with your social media or any other form of marketing, particularly internet marketing, because as I say, you can get yourself a wee bit caught up in internet marketing. And what is the outcome that you're trying to get from that?